Hello everyone, and welcome to Railroad Explained, where we talk about the trains, their history, mechanics, and more. Today, we're talking about decapod locomotives. These locomotives are favored among small railroads, but virtually unseen on the largest railroads. So, let's quickly take a quick dive into the history and mechanics of the 210 decapods. To preface this, I would like to make clear that we are talking about United States railroads. I know they are more significant and successful in Europe, so that is worthy of its own video. Decapod locomotives have a 210 wheel arrangements. That means 2 leading wheels, 10 driving wheels, and no trailing wheels. I know that at least in the United Kingdom, 010s are called decapods. However, I will be referring to 210s as decapods throughout this video. We're going to quickly run over the disadvantages and the advantages of decapods. Starting with disadvantages, which is the prime reason why decapods were not considered the absolute most successful locomotive ever. We're going to start off with stability and maneuverability. On any locomotive, leading and trailing trucks help guide a locomotive around a curve on top of spreading out the weight more. The lack of a trailing truck on decapods meant a higher chance of derailing while going in reverse. Because of this, most decapods were limited to roughly around 20 miles an hour or 32 kilometers an hour. The lack of a trailing truck also meant a small firebox. On most decapods, the firebox sits on top of the driving wheels, being shallow and flat, or it sits in between the wheels and on top of the axles, but in deep and narrow. A small firebox meant you couldn't necessarily have a large boiler. This meant overall limit in power. The lack of a trailing truck also meant the main drivers had to be small enough so that when you put the firebox on top, the boiler wasn't hanging really high and causing a high center of gravity. So the driving wheels tend to be small. This in turn meant low stability at high speeds. Most decapods were limited to 50 miles an hour. These issues were also common with other locomotives lacking a trailing truck, so 10-wheelers or 280s could also suffer from this. Now let's get into advantages. Decapods had high tractive effort. Because almost all the weight sat on the engine's driving wheels, they had high power in the sense of traction. Decapods also overall had good traction and power for the relative size of the locomotive. Let's take for instance Great Western number 90. It's a decapod that has an engine weight of 212,000 pounds or 96,161 kilograms and has a tractive effort of 48,960 pounds. For comparison, a Pennsylvania Railroad K4 Pacific has an engine weight of 304,500 pounds or 138,118 kilograms and has a tractive effort of 44,460 pounds. So, number 90 has around 4,000 pounds more tractive effort while weighing 92,500 pounds less. I would also like to mention that small wheels meant really good acceleration. So in the sense of pulling out of every single time you have to stop somewhere, they could get up to speed quite quickly. Now, we're going to talk about decapods and history as a whole. The first decapods in the United States came around in the 1860s-ish, but quickly disappeared due to the problems that we previously talked about. Back then, no railroad really liked them. It was about 19 years before more decapods were built and given a chance. The railroad who actually was the first one to really give them a chance was the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway. While they liked the power, they hated the lack of a trailing truck, leading them to create the 210 Santa Fe type locomotives. During World War I, Russia ordered some 1,200 decapods from the United States. However, with the advent of the Bolshevik Revolution and the rise of communism, some 200 locomotives in various stages of completion were stranded in the United States. The United States Railroad Administration decided to complete all remaining engines, bring them up to United States requirements, and send them out to domestic railroads. The selection of the decapods were known as Russian decapods for obvious reasons. Decapods are split into 2 categories. Light decapods comprise the majority of decapods, including the Russian decapods. Heavy decapods also exist. Now, no light railroad would use a heavy decapod. Not only could a line to not take the weight, they had light decapods for a reason. Other than the Santa Fe, The only other main lines to really run decapods for extended period of time was the Pennsylvania Railroad and the Western Maryland. The Pennsylvania Railroad's decapods are really quite well known. In 1916, the Pennsylvania Railroad experimented with a few decapod locomotives they built in their own Juniata shops. The engines proved really useful and well suited for running loads along the Appalachian Mountains. While originally they were hauling their own loads, they very quickly became very useful helper engines. Pennsylvania Railroad would end up with a massive fleet of 598 locomotives. They built 123 at its own shops and bought the rest from Baldwin Locomotive Works. These were massive decapods, weighing it at 380,000 pounds or 172,365 kilograms, with up to 92,000 pounds of tractive effort, although sources do say that the later versions could have over 100,000. Can't prove that though. While the firebox was considered still small, a mechanical stoker partially compensated for this. They would be used up until 1957, so very much towards the end of the Age of Steam. The largest decapods, however, were built for the Western Maryland. These locomotives had an engine weight of 419,280 pounds or 189,728 kilograms. These locomotives, however, were very surprisingly known for having a smooth ride. Although most decapods are known for having one of the roughest rides, Western Maryland somehow figured out the balancing issues. This meant even at 50 miles an hour, the crew said the ride was actually quite pleasant. The I-2s, as they were known, would be used until they ended steam on the Western Maryland. 13 decapods survive in the United States today. Of those 13, 2 are operational. Great Western number 90, a Baldwin-built decapod, operates on the Strasburg Railroad in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, and has made quite a name for itself. Engine is currently undergoing its FRA rebuild. The second engine is Fiscal 1630, which is a Russian decapod and operates on the Illinois Railroad Museum in Union, Illinois. Both locomotives will be getting their own feature video. I do apologize for not touching on the European theater of this. However, vast majority of this channel is based around United States locomotives. So today's topic was just United States. I do know that the Class 9F exists. I know that Russia obviously loved the decapods, and I know Germany had a lot of success with them, but they all deserve their own video. So that said, really hope you guys enjoy this one. We'll see you in the next one.